Hello, everybody. Jeff Hoverson hosting Gary Emine's show here. And boy, I got Jeff Magrum with me today, and I'm really excited about that because I don't think we ever run out of things to talk about, especially when it's politics. But Jeff, next time you come, bring a Magrum burger, won't you?
Yeah. Okay.
You grind your own beef on your farm, or do you have it?
We have a butcher shop to it, but yeah, it's all
Okay.
good grass-fed beef.
Ooh, grass-fed. Yeah.
Healthiest food on the planet.
Someday, instead of protein from a can, we'll have the real protein right here, because that's the North Dakota way.
We'll be like that guy on Popeye when he eats the hamburger.
Yeah.
He always eats hamburger after hamburger.
Oh, that guy. Okay, that's right. All right. Today the overview of the whole theme of everything I'm doing until June 9th is basically to promote the good guys, and we're defining the good guys, the platform conservatives in the legislature, especially the ones who are running, but all of them, because sometimes people say the legislature, and aren't you Republicans all in about 80% agreement? And the answer is no, not even close. So there's light blue Republicans and there's red Republicans. It's the red Republicans that we're promoting because they're the ones that adhere to the platform as their guide. And that's where the 80% difference is because you're never going to have 100%. But the gap between the light blue and the red is really wide. I think arguably 40% tops, I would say. Okay, so yeah, there it is right there. See that little gap between the light blue and red? Thanks, Luke. That's what we're talking about. So we are aiming at people in the red. And so just a quick brainstorming, Jeff, who would you say are some of the good guys in the Senate? Because one comment I want to make is that the Senate has become like the conservative chamber now. It used to be the other way around. And the Senate has had some growth, not only in the numbers of conservatives, but I think the strength and the influence. And frankly, I think your leader, David Hogue, has actually kind of helped foster that. Maybe he's not the most conservative, but he's sure been a lot more willing to work with conservatives like yourself. So let's just name a bunch. There's David Hogue right there. At least he's in the red. We can't say that about the House. I don't know.
I think, Jeff, if you look at the names, which I can't see from here, but that'll pretty well tell you, it's the same senators that voted against the free lunch. 14 of us.
Yeah, so let's name a few. Let's give them some names.
Oh, let me think here.
So we got Chuck Whalen.
Chuck Whalen, Mark Inget's good voter, conservative voter. Desiree Van
Oosting. Where's she from, by the way?
She's from New Salem.
New Salem, okay. And then you got
Keith
Boehm. He's been a stalwart. He was really noted for bringing the library pornography bill, which really was really interesting about Keith's bill. Did he bring it twice?
I think he did, yeah.
Oh, look at Keith. Keith is really solid red.
Top of the chart.
Way to go, Keith. Now, Keith brought the library porn bill, and what's really interesting, the attacks against it, didn't the governor
the governor
vetoed it. Yeah,
bill.
Okay, so it got presented by the library folks as a book banning bill, which is hilarious because it's not banning any book. There's still access to all that type of literature. What it was doing was making it not as accessible to children. And so I just don't understand how anybody could oppose it, much less veto it. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Especially with the support that we had in the legislature and with the people. It's just common sense legislation.
Basically said, okay, the pornography type literature, take it away from the bottom shelf and put it somewhere where kids can't reach it. It's a very simple concept. So yeah, Keith Boehm, way to go. And then Bob Paulson. Now he has no challengers, but we do in District 3. Yeah. The governor did ask and help recruit, along with Mike Nathy, and this whole movement from the light blue side that's trying to recruit basically more liberal citizens to run against conservatives in the legislature. So Bob Paulson, thankfully, he's been shielded, put it that way. I won't get into the backstory there, but it's pretty cool that Bob's been shielded from that.
He's a good legislator.
Yeah, Bob's good.
Bob's really good.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
There's Bob.
Look at Bob. Yep. Right there, smack in the middle of the pile.
Yeah.
And then we've got.
I think Bob was a military. He was. Yeah. He was a big chief.
Oh yeah, he in the Navy, and he was very high ranking. I don't know what his rank was, but.
Yeah, I don't remember. He told me, but he was pretty. He's a big deal.
Yep.
Big deal.
You got
Jose's
Castaneda
good.
from
Jose,
Minot.
another Minot guy. Yeah.
Jose, it's Castaneda. Starts with a C.
Yeah.
That's about all I know. Jose is spelled Jose. There's Jose.
Yeah, Jose's good. Really good.
So you can see, and the list goes on and on. I can't think of any offhand,
Kent
but
Weston. There's
Kent Weston, yes.
I want to forget about
Now,
Kent.
I think Kent Weston they've had their endorsing convention, haven't they? So he's in with Donna Henderson on the House and Kathy Freilich. I had Kathy and Donna on the show a while back. There's Kent Weston, very good legislator. I think they all three got endorsed. And so that's been a very interesting thing. What I can't figure out, okay, Alex Balaz, who is running now for state, I think, is he running against Julie Fedorchak maybe?
Yeah.
So he's a vice chair of that District 15 where Kent Weston's from. Now, why in the world is he going against Donna Henderson? I don't understand that, because he's coming around speaking and he's asking
I don't know if they
for
are
our
anymore,
votes.
are they? I think they backed off on
Did they
that.
back off? Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to let them guys go. I don't think the chair of that district is going to challenge.
Oh, good.
Last I heard that he decided to not do that.
Yeah, because I know when he was going around giving talks, people are asking about that. Okay, so anyway, the bottom line is the Senate is really doing well, and you guys need to know why they're doing better, and it's because of some of the people and others. As time goes on, we'll share about others. Hey, by the way, how do you like the red cap? Jeff got me a red cap because I've been doing these shows. I've been criticizing, but I've been criticizing the light blue Republicans wearing a light blue cap. So I got a lot of grief for that. So Jeff brought me
a red hat.
a red hat. But speaking of the state legislature now, I'm going to move to my second point. That is that as a citizen in North Dakota, I want to really encourage you guys to really get to know who the good guys are. And not only who are already in the legislature, but who are the good guys that are going to be running against, who are coming in as challengers, who are obviously very high likelihood that they're going to be in the red. And part of that is because Jeff and I both believe that we've got to start focusing on our state. Because in all the issues that we're facing across our country, everything from woke stuff to border issues, freedom issues, parental rights issues, property rights issues, there's just not a whole lot of hope in the federal level. There is, but certainly that election counts. But as far as what we can do here, I think we have to be really careful that we don't get caught up in all the news that's going on nationally, and that ends up being the topics at our coffee clutches and our kitchen tables and stuff like that. We got to get focused on knowing who is who and what's what in our state. Because no matter what happens at the federal level, and frankly, now it's a world level, because now we've got continual threats from whether it be the United Nations or the WHO or what's the other one with Klaus Schwab there, Jeff?
Oh, the World Economic
World
Forum.
Economic, yeah, the WEF, all these
It's not even.
unelected bureaucratic groups.
It's not Klaus Schwab as the chair anymore. It's Fink.
Okay.
What's his name from BlackRock? He's the manager
Okay,
of BlackRock
yeah.
Investments. He's the new chairman of the World Economic Forum. And these guys are the ones that are it's funny because people have been talked into investing in these 401ks. And so now these companies like BlackRock and Vanguard have amassed these huge chunks of money that they're now using and wielding against the people through these ESG, these
environmental,
social governance, which
Yes.
is more the Green New Deal scam stuff.
Yeah, so let's explain it, ESG, Rook. Since you said ESG, people need to know what that means. That these world level bureaucrats who basically they're self-appointed, there's no election for them. There's internal elections, but you and I don't get to vote for them. And they're assuming and accumulating more and more power all the time. The point in the ESG is basically if you want to spend money like they have in China, basically the money's done digitally more and more. And if you want to use that card as a business, you have to comply with the government's environmental standards, their social standards and stuff like that. So it just cuts right at the root of the free market. Anyway, our main hope is basically in the state, guys. We can continue to build up our state with conservative politics, and that's really the answer. And of course, the Lord is our answer too, but we believe that the Lord wants us to activate ourselves into the political arena as well, and not just sit there and watch all these big government bureaucrats roll over North Dakota. So we really need to keep our eyes just simply by getting involved. Yeah, absolutely. Great to have you. So we ended the last segment with this concept of we got to get citizens more focused on our state, knowing who's who, knowing what's what. And there's one thing I want to explain today that's going to be very helpful to you, especially this year. There's some convention type language that I think a lot of people I'm running into are not familiar with. And I think we would do a lot better in our elections if people were just familiar with the process. And so here's what we got going on. This year is what they call a convention year. Anyway, there's a state Republican convention coming up, and that's where they vote on all the state level people, like the Devin, who's running for, what's it called, the Public Service Commissioner, the state tax commissioner, and then the 3 people that we send to Washington. Anyway, that level is at a big state convention. This year it's March 27th last weekend.
And 28th and 29th in Minot.
Yeah, okay, so there are delegates from every district. Every one of us lives in a district. So why I'm bringing it up is because there's confusion. So when you hear the phrase delegate convention, that's referring to you locally to go and consider being a delegate to the state convention, okay? But that's different. So the delegate convention is a district level thing. You'd have to find out who your chair is or from somebody that knows when your delegate convention is, okay? But then there's another thing called the endorsing convention, and that's different. And I found there's a lot of confusion. The delegate convention is where you vote on, each district gets so many seats, depending on how big they are, how many voters they have. And like, for example, in District 3, this past weekend, we had our delegate convention. We were allowed to have 48 seats. So we could send 48 people to the state convention, okay? By the way, Jeff, we got all 48 filled, and guess what percent of the 48 were conservative, red-leaning Republicans?
With your district, I'm assuming all of them.
All of them. It's pretty sweet. So 48 out of 48. So I really am very pleased with our district. They show up. The conservatives show up when they're needed. Okay.
Yeah, one thing, Jeff, we have like almost 80 spots because, like you said, it goes by voting participation. The more active your district is, the more vote delegates you get at the state convention. So District 8 has the most of any district out of 47 districts.
Oh, wow.
District 8 is the most active voting district in the state. So we have, I think it's around 80 delegate positions. Yeah. But being it's a Minot and it's not a governor, there's really no real contentious races. Yeah, I talked to our chair last night. Josie Milbrat's our chair, does a wonderful job. But anyway, he said we only have 33 people signed up.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you haven't had your convention
We
yet?
had our convention.
Oh, you did? So that's already done. Okay.
And that's all that signed up that day, and he hasn't been able to get any interest. So he asked me if I would reach out to some people and try to.
And you're an even district, so you're not up for election.
Our district is not up for election.
So, and that's another thing that impacts too. We're District 3, so this year, all the odds are up for election. So that's how they do it too. That's another thing to know is that you do odds and then you do evens. Oh, there we go. What a tech team we have here, huh? Yeah. All those odds there, you can see how many total, what is there, close to 50.
Well, there's 47 districts.
47 districts, yeah. Yeah, so that's probably why you have a low turnout, because you don't have an election, maybe.
Well,
but keep in mind,
being it's in Minot, that's
the state convention's in Minot, right? Yeah, and that's probably why we're doing better as well, because it's right in our town. That's a good point. But filling those seats has historically not been a thing. It's only in recent years that a lot of, especially the western North Dakota districts, have been able to fill their slots like that. And you know what I think is the reason? One name, Rick Becker. Don't you think, Jeff? Also, the pandemic and all the freedom issues that were coming up then. But when Rick Becker ran against Hoven, it seemed like all the western districts were filling up. And that has become quite a contentious thing now, because now that the conventions are flipping to be more conservative, the state convention, like last time, the light blue took a shellacking. I mean, I think Kramer and Hoven and Armstrong and even the governor, they didn't even get voted to be sent to D.C. by our convention.
Me and Rick, the people voted me and Rick and Kim Koppelman.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were one of them, weren't you?
Yeah, I got to be one of the presidential electors thanks to the conservatives that attended the convention and elected
So it was
us.
you and who? Kim Koppelman?
Kim Koppelman and Rick Becker. So we got to officially cast the electoral votes for North Dakota. Yeah.
So that type of people, so when you hear your legislators say, I come from a purple district or blue district, or, you can't really say that about any district, because every district has dark blue, light blue, and red, okay? It's just a matter of who gets activated. And a lot of times what activates them is who you get to run. And that's why what we're talking about today is so important. So let's move from delegate convention now to endorsing convention. Completely different deal. Now, some districts do the delegate and the endorsing at the same time. Did you guys do it at the same time?
We always do that at the same time.
Okay, ours are separate because
I do want to point out one thing. There's 23 districts up for that have their legislators up for election this election cycle. So there's 69 Republicans likely running, legislative candidates running this year.
Okay.
I don't know how many Democrats.
And you're talking,
but if that was
running to be a legislator, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
If both sides would fill their slate of legislative candidates, you'd be looking at 69 times 2 is 138, but there's only 60. We know there's going to be the Republicans always fill their 2 House member candidates and 1 Senate candidate.
Okay.
So there's 23 out of 47 districts up for election this year.
Okay.
So half.
And that number,
half of the legislators are up for election, really.
And that number includes the Democrats too, right?
No, that doesn't. It would be 138 if the Democrats. Which in in our district, they don't normally have candidates.
Okay.
They've faded away because a lot of them joined the Republican Party, and the rest of them
That's how it gets to be light blue.
Yeah, the rest of them have totally lost their minds. I think because they've gotten so far left, nobody wants to be a part of them anymore. Right,
exactly. And that's what we're working on changing. And it is changing, folks. Have hope, because the numbers of the Reds are growing. We already talked about the Senate. It's just not a majority yet. But so I want to get back to the endorsing convention, because some of you I know, because I've talked to a lot of people in the past month or two who have either been talked to about running or are considering themselves running. If you know somebody, or if it's you that's considering running, and we need a red conservative. So if you have a light blue legislator in your district, please, in your red, please consider running. So what's an endorsing convention? An endorsing convention is just simply where the Republicans in your district show up at a meeting and simply vote to endorse the candidate that they want to be on the ballot for the general election in November. Here's the problem. In between there is what they call a primary. Okay, and that hopefully straightens out some of that confusion. So just because you get endorsed in your district right now does not mean that you're automatically going to go on the ballot in November. And I think a lot of people don't know that, and because they don't know that, they don't show up at the primary to vote, or they don't think it matters. But actually, the way the current political climate is right now, the primary is where the action is at. And that should not be. it was never set up to be that way, but the primary has been corrupted. And by that, it's not fair play anymore. For one thing, you don't have to be a registered Republican or excuse me. Okay, let me back up. In the primary, which is June 9th, that's not an endorsed candidate only. That is also people who get, 150 signatures?
Yeah, so that's the difference is if you're endorsed, that means your local district Republicans, for example, in your district, they're saying, we want Jeff to be one of our House members.
Yeah.
So they're putting their brand on you, district.
Yeah. So I have to still show up at the primary, but also others who get signatures. But you can have crossover, and they're not supposed to. The Republicans are supposed to vote for Republicans, Democrats for Democrats. So what's happening is if you have a red and a light blue Republican running against each other, the Democrats can cross over. Once you pick one on that side, you have to stay with that side. But that's what's happening is a lot of Democrats now are saying, we don't have anybody. Let's go over and vote for the light blue guy because he's basically one of us anyway. Anyway, we're out of time. Hopefully that straightened out some of the confusion. We need to talk this year about what's happening in the governor's world, okay, as it relates to the elections and the legislature. Jeff, tell us all about it. What's going on?
For anybody that's been paying attention to North Dakota politics the last years here, our former governor started he was funding and endorsing and trying to control the legislative branch from the governor's
And
office.
that was a new thing. As far as we remember, we don't remember a governor jumping into his own party and dividing and supporting.
Trying to pick winners and losers, and funding them with his many billions of dollars he's got,
Exactly.
And so I was attacked by our former governor, so I really...
more than once.
Yeah, more than once, more than one election, because he was trying to tell me how to vote, but I am elected by the District 8 people, so I always would tell him. And at that time, I served in District 28 when his big thing was the Teddy Roosevelt Library, whether you believe it or not. My district people were telling me not to vote for it, so he'd call me up and say, hey, I need you on that vote for the library. And I'm like, no, I can't vote for it. My people don't want it. There was a couple, but the far majority said not to. But that was the beginning of the end of my relationship with the former governor. And after that, he tried to get me unelected in the next election. And so I always felt like this was covered by the founders of the North Dakota Constitution under Article 5, Section 10.
Okay, Jeff, before you read that,
I probably won't read it all. People really need to just Google it. Article 5, Section 10 of the North Dakota Constitution. It is a bit lengthy, but go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, just to set the framework of this, the executive branch, which would be the governor, and then the legislative branch, keep in mind there's three branches, okay? The executive, the legislative, that's what we're talking about now, but there's also a judicial branch, but there's three. But we're supposed to be independent really from each other. We're really not supposed to be crossing the lines.
But in reality,
influencing.
In reality, the governor does have appointing authority with the judiciary, but he does not have appointment authority with the legislative branch.
Yeah.
And in the former District 8, when Dave Andall was running for the legislature and he passed away unexpectedly, the former Governor O'Bergum tried to pick a guy to serve, and that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court slapped him down and said no.
Bergum lost that.
The district has the ability to endorse or appoint a candidate. And so the legislative branch is sovereign from the executive branch, even more than the judicial branch, because you see all the time the governor is appointing retiring judges and so on. So and he has appointed authority for a lot of different boards and commissions, but he does not have that authority with the legislative branch. We are totally sovereign. And that's why I do believe that I was really mad when I seen that interview of the guy that's going to be running against you. And he said that the interviewer asked him, are you, the rumor is you are asked by the governor. He said, not directly.
He's been interviewed twice, and I think in a previous interview he said yes.
Yeah, but anyway, he did admit that the governor is encouraging him to run against sitting incumbent Republican. And he used to be the Republican chairman, the GOP chairman. So it's very extra offensive to me. And maybe it doesn't bother you, but it bothers me because I know that you and Lori Van Winkle, represent the other representative from your district, are great legislators. I know that you respond to the people, and I know you work for the people, and I value you guys being there.
Yeah.
And so for him to come out and be endorsing or promoting or
recruiting,
trying to recruit candidates to run against standing Republicans that are doing a good job, that are showing on the legislate, you guys are dark red Republicans. And when you read Article 5, Section 10 about the governor trying to influence legislators, that I encourage everybody. I don't want to read to everybody, but
it's good to have it on the screen, though.
I think you should really look that up and see that.
Okay, where's
see
this
what
at,
you
Jeff?
think. But the governor is out of line on Section 10.
Article 5, right?
Yeah, Article 5, Section 10, North Dakota Constitution. Everybody should look up the North Dakota Constitution anyway. I'm not trying to preach to you, but it's good information for everybody to realize that there's not just the U.S. Constitution. We have a North Dakota Constitution. That is your rights. That's your rights. And so these rights, there's always more measures that are constitutional measures that come along. And there will be a few of them this next fall again that will be on the ballot to actually add to the Constitution. They're going to school lunch is one they want to put in the Constitution.
Term
they
limits.
want to change term limits. That's a constitutional law right now. It's in the Constitution. So if you want to change the Constitution, it has to be by a vote of the people. The legislature cannot change the Constitution. The legislature can bring a ballot measure forward.
They can send it to the people to have them vote on it.
But the people have to vote on any changes to the
Okay, so what's going on with the governor then, as it relates to Article 5 and Section?
Well, I think it's pretty, that's why I say everybody should read it, but it's never been challenged. The only thing that could be done is an impeachment by the House would have to start an impeachment if they feel like he's totally out of line, but you'd have to have the votes.
Okay.
But the point is everybody should see that the governor should stay in his lane. The governor, the people elect a governor. That's not that individual seat. That's the people's seat. They put him in that seat.
Yeah.
He should not be taking advantage of the influence of that seat and trying to wield that power to influence the legislature. The legislature is sovereign. But if you want to, if we got
read
time.
Read a little bit. Yeah,
should I read a little bit?
Yeah, read a little bit.
And Luke, if you would want to put that up again.
It's technical language, so it gets a little...
It just says, a governor who asks, receives, or agrees to receive any bribe upon any understanding that the governor's official opinion, judgment, or action shall be influenced thereby, or who gives or offers or promises the governor's official influence in consideration that any member of the Legislative Assembly shall give the member's official vote or influence on any particular side of any question or matter upon which the member may be required to act in the member's official capacity.
Okay.
So now a governor endorses a candidate or cultivates this candidate, recruits them, however you want to say it, and then gives them money because I've heard, I haven't actually dug into it myself, but there's this PAC that the governor's created called North Dakota or North Dakota Strong.
Was that the previous governor?
No, that's this.
The
new governor has created his own PAC.
Okay, Strong North Dakota,
something like that, and he's going to supposedly be funding these candidates. So now you cultivate this candidate, you help them get elected, you give them money. What do you expect in return? Nothing? That's a bribe.
Well, not only that, but it's just common sense, even without even looking at what he's doing is inserting himself into districts where he may not even be welcomed by the district themselves. So you have a district that has a duly elected chairman, a vice chair, all that. It's an organized party that are trying to do their level best to put forward candidates. And then all of a sudden, poof, out of another branch, a separate branch, the executive branch, flies in the governor, welcomed or not. And whether they want him there or not, what Jeff is suggesting here is that it's not even, he's reading right from the North Dakota Constitution. Yeah.
Yeah, if you read it for yourself, I think it's self-explanatory.
Right. And I don't think, I think it's just common sense. I think if people were really asked, do you really want the governor just inserting himself sending minions into the elections of districts. I don't care what side of the fence you're on.
Jeff, he's watering down your vote. You got 141 legislators that represent the people directly.
Yeah.
Not only that, we have the authority to override any veto. The legislature should really be running the state, not the governor. We have we can overrule any vetoes by the governor. Us 141 legislators, if we work together, we should be running the state. We control the purse and the policy. And he has to either sign the laws. If he doesn't even want to sign the law, it goes into effect. Even lays on this table, it goes into effect. If he vetoes it, we can override him. So we have the authority, not the governor's office. So the governor is really overstepping his authority, in my view.
It's not that the governor doesn't have any authority, because the governor has a lane. And
that's right.
But that's why they have a division.
Stay in your lane.
The division of power. That's why there are 3 branches, because
separation
the way
of
it was
powers.
set, and it was absolutely brilliant how our founders set that up, is that they didn't want too much power to go into the governor or the legislature
we don't need
either.
A dictator.
We don't have unlimited power either, but we do have our lane. And so what Jeff is suggesting here is that we need to understand what's going on constitutionally. We've got about 30 seconds left, Jeff.
I think it's interesting how it talks about right at the end, if he threatens any member, which I've been threatened by the previous governor, but we didn't have the votes to
So do you think the previous governor is still...
He may be controlling the strings right now yet. But I thought it was interesting. It right at the end, it talks about basically about the punishment. It says he must be punished in the manner now, or that may hereafter be provided by law.
Okay, so we're running out of time in this segment. But basically, hey, there's nothing wrong with a fair fight, and fight hard, but it's got to be fair. And when you have a seat and a position that just by virtue of the position inherently has influence and power, there are limitations in how you should use that. And it's not rocket science. Most of us can just understanding it with our own mind and come to the same conclusion. So thanks, Jeff, for bringing that up. Oh man, there were some fun ones to listen to on that. Now, it's called the LAFRC, okay? LAF.
That's the acronym, yeah.
Yeah, that's the acronym. So LAFRC. Jeff, you go ahead and explain. What is the LAFRC that you're chair of right now, and why is it important?
LAFRC committee is Legislative, Audit, and Fiscal Review Committee.
Say it again. Say it again.
Legislative, Audit, and Fiscal Review. So we go through the audits. We work in hand with the North Dakota State Auditor's Office. Josh Gallion is our state auditor. He does a wonderful job. And he presents the audits that he has. By law, we have, every agency has to have an audit at a certain time, whether it's every other year or every year. And then he presents them to the LAFRC committee. And the LAFRC committee has the ability to ask for audits of other agencies. And we're the ones that started the investigation into the Jason Doctor debacle down there, that building in South Bismarck that he worked with BCI on. And so we initiated that audit and had the investigation done, although we I don't feel like we ever got any finality on that, but that's a whole other discussion.
Can you explain what an audit is, Jeff?
So the auditor goes in and he looks at all the books, and his job is to see what they call a performance audit. So he looks at how the money is used, and if it's used appropriately, and if it's used the way the legislators had intended it to be used. And then our job is, if there's anything that we think we should change. For example, the Stark County has been breaking the law. They actually tax their people more than they're legally. There's limits on how much they can tax their people based on the amount of money they have in the bank. They're breaking the law. So the auditor's office, he audited them and he brought that forward. So then we had them come in and explain why they feel like they should be able to violate the law.
Yeah.
And if they feel like they should be able to violate the law, do they allow the people that live in their county to violate the law?
And a lot of audits are done. It's a statewide, the auditor has a big job because it's all public money.
Yeah, he audits the university system,
Yeah.
for example, and when they come in, you'd be amazed. Most of the universities in the state can't even balance their checkbook.
And sometimes these audits are finding things that they're not necessarily intentional. Sometimes they're intentionally breaking the law, but a lot of times it's just...
Now, I'll say one thing about Minot State they've got good, clean books.
That we do. And Minot State University, I got to give a plug for, because even in bills, you'll notice when you compare Minot to others, and there's a few good ones, they tend to be very reasonable budget requests. And
they're actually helping other colleges straighten up.
I know. And
yeah, like Botno.
But the thing is that here's the problem we have in the legislature is that for some reason they put all the budgets for all the universities and colleges in one bill. So if UND or NDSU is grossly overspending and you want to say no to that, you're saying no to Minot as well. So if you're in Minot and you're wondering why your legislator voted no, it's probably not even because of Minot. It's because Minot's included in a bill with all the universities and colleges. But remember this too, a budget bill does not die. So when you say no to a budget bill, it simply goes back to the Appropriations Committee to be reworked.
That's what you're saying is I don't agree with this amount of expenditure. Go back and give us a better product. Come back and then show us that you're actually trying to cut some of this fat out, because the universities have been way overpaid. They're inefficiently operated, poor managers, and gotten way too much money.
And again, and I'll say
some of them, we maybe even want to look at closing some of them. They got more money. They can't. Then you know what their excuse is when they mismanage their money? We don't have enough help, or we have too much turnover. We can't keep help. My comment is, you got too much money and you can't keep help. So evidently, we maybe need to reduce colleges in this.
And by the way, some colleges do actually do very well. And I just got to say, Minot does very well. But what happens is these slick advertisers that are used often, mostly by the light blue Republicans. Why? Because that's where the money's at. Usually, and if you add the governor into there, there's a lot of money that gets spent on advertising, especially for, guess what? The primary. You see what's going on? So they send out these slick ads and they'll say Hoverson or Magrum or whoever wants to defund the colleges or wants to defund the military, because the advertisers, I think it's borderline illegal actually, according to chapter 16 of the corrupt practices laws in our Constitution. But anyway.
Yeah, but who's going to do anything about it?
Because you can't. I mean, the Attorney General will say you need to call the state's attorney. The state's attorney says you got to call the sheriff, and the sheriff says you got to call the Attorney General. You just go round and round. So really, the people have no recourse, and it's very difficult. That's where, when it gets to be a lot of money in an election, and you get a Pat Finken type of advertiser who's willing to loosen his morality a little bit and basically mislead people by using the term defund, for example, that's very misleading, because the voters don't always know that a no on a budget bill does not defund anything. A policy bill, yes, when you vote no on a policy bill, that's over. That bill's over if it gets outvoted, but not a budget bill. Budget bills just go back to the committee. Hey, rework this. And guess how many budget bills in 8 years have been sent back to committee? It's
probably
almost
one that
almost
I remember.
zero.
That was the Ethics Commission, and that was petty compared to some of the big bills.
But anyway, I didn't want to derail you from the LAFRC.
If we got time, I just want to say, if you're interested in the free lunch measure that's coming, because I heard they're getting signatures. These people were in line in McDonald's, and McDonald's is letting them stand in line to get signatures in Fargo for free lunch. And so your property taxes will have to go up to pay for free lunch. Let's just face it. But so anyway, the teachers union came into the legislature a couple weeks ago when we had special session, and they said, they're starving our kids. They're starving our kids. I was getting calls from superintendents that I know, and they're like, Jeff, we're not starving the kids. It's all fiction. Don't believe it. And as a matter of fact, they do breakfast, a snack at 10:30, noon lunch at 11:30, and then they have a snack at 2 o'clock again.
For the elementary, yeah.
So there's nobody starving. But anyway, this is all a political movement by the lefties. And so we are asking the Department of Public Instruction on March 24th at 1:40. If you're interested in this subject, you can Zoom, you can go in and watch, or you can watch it after. Just go to the North Dakota Legislative Branch, click on the calendar, Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee will come up. Click on the video on that, and you can watch it even after the meeting.
Date and time and place again?
It's March 24th at 1:40. And if you want to attend in person, I'm not sure which room we're going to be using yet, whether it's the Brynhild Haugland or the Rough Rider, but it'll be posted.
In the Capitol.
But it'll be at the Capitol, but you can watch online. You don't have to come in. You can if you want.
So what's going to be talked about at that?
We're going to have them report on school meal debt by school district and disposition of debt after graduation, like how much are these students, because they're saying, oh, we have so much money in arrears. I'm finding out most of the schools don't have any carryover, but we want to find out the facts. School meal revenues, expenditures, and fund balances by school district. Information regarding food waste, because we're hearing 30% goes in the garbage.
There will be more.
Well, out of 65 million, that's $19.5 million of food going in the garbage.
We'll have
that's a lot of money.
We'll have more if we have universal free lunch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Application process for free and reduced meals. What's the application? Why are they saying there's money? The legislature actually put a bunch of money in last session, and it didn't even get used for free and reduced meals. So the federal government pays for up to a certain income, but then we extended that up to 225%, I do believe it was, if you have a family of four.
Explain that. So
if you have a family of four, you can make up to 72 or 75,000.
Well, it's 84,000 now because of the increase to 225%. Yeah.
Well, you can make a pretty good living and still get free and reduced meals for your children, but they're saying people aren't applying. My theory is they don't want the money, because I know when me and my wife were young parents, we could have qualified too, but we didn't want the money. We didn't want to be on welfare. We wanted to stand on our own, take care of ourselves.
Well, whose the responsibility is? If you look at the platform, personal responsibility.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Yeah. And if John F. Kennedy was a Democrat, but he was more conservative than the Republicans nowadays, but he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Take care of yourself and pay your own way, and that's about as good as a patriotic thing you can do.
Well, and if you want to,
you don't need to go out and set the world on fire. Go out and just take care of yourself and your family. Just do it. Get up and be happy about getting up and being healthy enough to go out and work.
It's a fulfilling life.
Yes.
To
You'll
aim
feel
at
good
taking
about
care of
yourself. You'll get rid of your depression.
Right.
And
to work and to manage your money and spend it wisely and save instead of borrow. And
there's a few more items if we got time.
We got about 30 seconds.
Okay, the means by which children are ensured access to meals, and then there's including the bill that we passed in 23 to raise the amount of people that are eligible. Estimated fiscal impact of the universal meal program, including cost projections going forward.
Okay.
And operational administrative process requirements for the implementation of a universal school.
Okay, we're out of time.
These are kind of things that we're trying to prepare for the next session.
Awesome. So March 24th at 1:40 in the Capitol, LAFRC, that's LAFRC, Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee.
Yeah.
March 24th.
The number one committee in the Capitol, by the way.
Just look for Jeff. God bless you, everybody, and God bless North Dakota.
Thanks, Jeff.